Hello, everybody. Welcome. I am Mama Oyela Nankire Ayu Bryant, and I know I have not done a video in a long time. So, for those of you that are in the healing ritual, thank you for not quitting on yourself. I know going through the healing shadows is a real tedious and hard process. It's not easy by far. But what I really wanted to talk to you guys real quick about was sort of how I sort of even began on my spiritual journey. Like I told you guys before, I grew up in the church. My uncle was always going to church, and I was like, well, wherever he went, I wanted to go. But it was literally once I got older, about fifth, sixth grade or whatever, I had been going to church enough, I understood enough. And my first real experience was me going to church and hearing everybody speaking in tongue and just becoming all emotional and feeling the energy in the room charge up. Now, of course, over the years, I had to really analyze a lot of the behavior that we like to do in the church. And once I sat and really studied and meditated and learned why we did some of the things that we did or why we practiced some of the ways that we practiced, it made a world of difference. So some of the things that we sort of shun away from in Christianity and that we really don't pay attention to is one of the things is something that we call speaking in tongues. So for some people, you may hear them tell you that if you are in a church setting that you are not supposed to be speaking in tongues. And if you are speaking in tongues, then somebody is supposed to be there to translate. Well, now, as much as that may be true, you also have to think of it on a deeper spiritual level as well. If, quote unquote, the Jesus in me sees the Jesus in you, that means we are of the same. Not the same, but of the same. So if my inner G or my inner God or my inner goddess starts speaking a soul language, and then next thing you know, if I'm channeled in and tuned into the same energetic source that everyone else is tuned in and channeled into, then we are all speaking and in tune from the same spiritual source. That is why when we are in church, one person may speak in tongues, the next person, the next person, the next person, the next person. We are all spiritually speaking to each other. But as long as we are in human form, we will never be able to understand what any of that stuff is. You just know that your soul has a lot to say and it's speaking. And as your soul is speaking, other spiritual souls that are in tune to the same source are in agreement with you. So that's one aspect. Another aspect is what we call the ring of fire. So, of course, at church, everybody like to doom 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 doom. Yes, Lord. And then you got them. Okay, so when they are doing all of that, when they are in the act of doing that, of course you see a lot of us and we be like, oh my God, there go Miss Pearly Hat again flying off. Jesus, she done ran. There go her wig, Lord. Okay, but in the sense of those who are really into the spirit or those that are praise dancers. I'm a praise dancer. So those of us who are of that nature, we are what they call the ring of fire, which is literally us inviting those spirits down to dance with us. We are inviting those ancestors to commune with us. You're inviting those spirit guides to spend that time with you, that praise with you, that worship with the Almighty. Okay. And you're my almighty may be one, my almighty may be another. But either way, this is a time of praise and worship for the almighty, the supreme creator. So when you're going through that ring of fire and everybody is breaking out, dancing and stuff, that is literally what everybody is doing. You're inviting those spirits to come and partake. So that's another one. Something else that a lot of Black people don't realize that we can do spiritually is when you are singing, or those of us that tend to channel spirit through our vocal, that is because we channel a frequency in our voices that is able to manipulate that energetic wave of emotion. It's the same way as if you are listening to meditation music, and the different type of hertz can affect different type of mental, physical, and emotional changes in your body. Well, those of us with that energy source of singing, or that talent of singing, we can produce that. That is why a lot of us that sing those spiritual hymns, or sing period, are able to sway certain people emotionally and spiritually, because we are able to harness that energy and channel it. That's why you see some people going crazy over Beyonce and her crazy shit. We're not going to talk about that though. But anywho, so that's another aspect. Something else that we deal with in the church that I want to talk about is laying of the hands. Now, if you're not in the church praying, laying hands and praying on somebody, you know, you're being called a demon, or you're being cursed, or you're doing something negative. But if you're laying hands in the church, it's supposed to be a positive thing. But spiritually speaking, some of the worst demons reside in the church, because they are all buddy. They are all companions of each other. Misery loves company, so therefore they are miserable together. So when you have that type of manifestation in your churches, it's very hard for a lot of us with abilities growing up to seek help, because we are put in environments where there really is no help. I can sit here and talk to you about me having dreams and stuff, and the pastor may tell you, oh, it's prophetic. But if I tell you about my dreams outside of the church, oh, I'm crazy, I'm doing that crazy stuff. Stop calling these people crazy, y'all. Because truthfully speaking, a lot of them are not crazy. You have to remember, spiritually speaking, those who had mental disabilities were not seen as crazy or retarded or with a mental disability. They were seen as hyoka. They were seen as shamans. They were seen as two-headed conjure people who could deal in the spirit and in the physical. So can you imagine how many tortured souls that grew up without real proper guidance and without real proper knowledge of how to heal themselves and how to dig themselves out of their own shadow realm are left tortured in a lot of these insane asylums, or are left tortured in straitjackets on the 4th floor because they feel that they have been going crazy. They seeing stuff and hearing stuff and it's not there. Spiritually speaking, it may very well be there. And that's just being real. They very well may be there. So now we have all of these lost, tortured souls caught up in these places and spaces. All because they wouldn't do right at church on Sundays. Or they're being cast out in the street because they wouldn't do right on Sundays. But lo and behold, everything that I do on the Sunday, or everything that you do on the Sunday, I do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. What I do in my spiritual time, when I'm speaking in tongues, when I'm laying of the hands of healing, which is me using my Reiki or me using my energy to absorb that negative source out of your body and replacing it with positive, focused light and focused healing, which is what laying of the hands and Reiki healing is. It's transferring the energy out and putting good energy in. But you have to be in a balanced place and space to know to do that without intaking the negative energy and it making you sick yourself. I'm pretty sure y'all done seen the movie Green Mile, where John Coffey sat there and absorbed that lady's cancer in exchange for her health. We do that. Those of us that are shamans, healers, anytime you come to us for a reading or anytime you come to anybody else for a reading, that is what you are doing. You are asking for an exchange. We are giving of ourselves freely for your benefit. And I don't know if a lot of you guys realize that. So back to talking about coming from the church. So another thing with coming from the church is you have to realize that a lot of the things that happened in the church were also happening because we were forced to hide things that we believed in spiritually. And one thing that I really need everybody to realize is we're not slaves anymore. Christianity was forced upon us as a slave control, as a mental control. We're not slaves anymore, so why are you still falling for the control? And it was so funny to me because the more I studied about behaviorisms through Orthodox Christianity, through Islamic Jihad, through Hinduism, through Buddhism, even back around to Ifa, Voodoo, Hoodoo, New Orleans Voodoo, all the way back around from these different practices and even the holistic spiritual studies through Native American shamanism, through Seminoles, through Cherokee, through Porch Creek Indians, through all of these different studies, speaking in tongues, dancing when you worship, giving that thanks to your ancestors and your divine spirits of protection. These were all natural elements to us, and we were teaching these to our young so they wouldn't come up feeling like they were misplaced. Because truthfully speaking, in a real tribe, in a real community, everyone had a place in space. Even Polo Ting Ting had a place in space. Even if that meant all he could do was go pick up the pecans off the ground every day. That was Ting Ting's job. Ain't nobody gonna pick up better pecans than him because he's gonna know which ones are moldy. He's gonna know which ones are good. He's gonna know which ones are hollow. Let little Ting Ting have that. But everybody has a place and space in the tribe. And that is something that I really need a lot of people to understand and understand when they are part of taking this journey. I know y'all, I'm sort of, I'm going through my own process of initiation and cleansing and healing myself right now. So excuse me. But once again, so I understand and I get why a lot of you guys are trying to figure out sort of where you fit in between spirituality and religion. And this is why me being a spiritual, holistic life coach first, I am a shamanic life coach first, I am always going to tell you, please, please, please take down your religious divide. Because if you keep holding your religious boundaries up, you're never going to expand on what you really need to know. You're never going to understand that when you are speaking in tongues, you're not just speaking to your ancestors like your great grandma and all of them. You're speaking to generations of ancestors back, 13 generations to be exact. Whenever you feel the need to jump up and dance, you're not just dancing with your aunts and your uncles and them or Billy Bob and them. You're dancing with generations of ancestors back. When you're giving praise, thanks, and offering to your Ori or to your higher self or to whatever supreme being you feel most divinely drawn to, it's deeper than just you. You're doing this for generations forward and back. So if you see these babies growing up with these gifts, especially with a lot of us being triggered in church, you have to remember, even church, even Christianity is a PTSD trigger, because this is something that was beaten into us over a time period. We were manipulated and brainwashed into a religious system that is not built for us. We are the only race on the face of the earth that worships something other than themselves. And unfortunately, you guys, we don't fall in that African genre, because our birth certificates say property of USA, not property of Africa, not property of Uganda, not property of Nigeria. I mean, some of you, yes, that does apply to, but most of us here in the United States of America, no, that does not apply to us. And with the identity crisis that we are in right now, with trying to, oh, I believe in Ifa, so now you believe that, you're a part of that African culture. No, sweetie, you're not. You're still born of slaves at the end of the day. For those of you that are joining into Santeria and coming in Santero, Santera, Upalero, whatever you're trying to go into, at the end of the day, sweetheart, guess what? You're still born of slaves. Your hoodoo is still going to be in your blood. You're never going to forget the fact that your grandmother may smoke cigars. You're never going to forget the fact that she may have sprinkled salt all over the floor and swept it out the back door. You're never going to forget the fact of there were certain foods that y'all ate around New Year's. There are certain habits that you grew up watching your grandmothers and your uncles and aunts do that you won't forget, because those are our roots. Those are where we come from. Hoodoo, that is where we come from. It is a mixture of everything that the world did not want, and they dropped it here in America. Which is why I say this is the only place you can find you a Russian, Jamaican, Chinese, black person. Now think about how much spiritual backup that person may have. If you know who you are and you know what resides in your DNA, think about how much spiritual backup you have. But you keep cutting yourself off because of your religious preference. So, thank you guys for joining the Tranquil Tea Time with me. I love you, I love you, I love you. I want you to do better. I want you to be better. I want you to know better. Because when you know better, you do better. Y'all know my motto. Namaste, you guys, but no, I'm going to stay over here. Holla.